What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative, and today I am going to talk about my favorite books of the month so far for the first half of the year. These are my contenders for favorite read of 2022, and this is going to be a very, very difficult decision. And what brought this video about is I haven't been able to stop thinking about my most recent favorite read, which was An Alchemy of Mask and Mirrors. That was my favorite read of June. I've been thinking about it nonstop since I read it. I've been talking to anybody who will talk to me about it, and there's a couple of folks reading it over on Feeny Reads Discord, and when I tell you I am stalking every single time somebody comments in that channel, I am literally watching, waiting for every mention of anything people have to say about it. And I thought to myself, is this possibly the book of the year for 2022? And then I thought, well, wait a minute, what are the other ones that I had? Now I could remember off the top of my head a couple of them that I had picked, and that led to me looking back through my notes and seeing what my picks were January through June, and I thought, well, maybe I can go ahead and pick somebody to go forward. Let's start with the month of January. The Girl in the Tower by Katherine Arden, which is the second book in her Winter Night trilogy. The reason why it beat out the first book, now I love the first book because that's where we meet all of our characters. I just love the feel and the atmosphere, but this one we really get to see some of the magic. We really get to the meat of what's happening here, and the third one just hurt me too deep. The third one would never be able to beat out the other two of the series because that book gutted me, just absolutely gutted me. All right, so that's contender number one for book of the year. For the month of February, my favorite read of the month was Waking Ursa Minor by Helen Rye Peterson. It's the first book in her epic fantasy series, River to Rising. Helen also entered this book into the SPFBO competition this year. I have been eagerly awaiting to see what that team is going to do with it. I'm so excited for all of the authors who've entered their books that I've already read them, that I love them, and I know they deserve to go forward. I can't wait to see what happens, but this book was amazing. It made me laugh, it made me cry. I cried tears of joy, I cried tears of happiness and sorrow. It just ran me through all of the emotions. This was phenomenal world building. We met several tribes of different people. I love the magic system. It has prophecy in it. There's literally no box left unchecked as far as what makes me love a good fantasy story. For the month of March, we're going into the sci-fi genre with Stringers by Chris Panettiere. I don't think any other reads in the month of March came close to touching Stringers. I laughed so hard reading this book. It utilized the found family trope in the most unusual way I think I have read to date. I was here for it. The friendship, I love this book so much. I should also stop and mention a lot of these have dedicated reviews, which I'll be putting in the cards for you and in the description box down below. For the month of April, my favorite read of the month, no surprise here, John Gwynne has dominated favorite books of the month for me for the last several years. The Hunger of the Gods. I loved every moment of this book. One of the points of view in this series is Orca. She is amazing. Not only is she a great female fantasy character, she's just a great character overall. She's on every favorite list I can think of to talk about. This series is just absolutely amazing. If you love Norse mythology, if you love magic, it's so good. I don't know what more I could possibly say to get folks to read John Gwynne, a fantasy author that checks all the boxes all the time. And then for the month of May, this one is probably still recent enough that you remember, or at least you've heard me talk about nonstop. Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. I just knew that this one was going to beat out everybody and become book of the year for me until June. I would, if I had to stop and pick right now, my favorite book of the year would be between this little science fiction space opera here and then the book of the month for June, which was An Alchemy of Mask and Mirrors by Curtis Craddock. And this one is a steampunk fantasy tale. It takes place on airships and sky islands. Everything's in the air. I mean, that aspect alone is just fantastic. And then you throw in the fact that the king has musketeers, and there is just one in particular whose job is to protect Princess Isabel. Jean-Claude, I just love him to pieces. I love the relationship between Isabel and Jean-Claude. The nobles in this story, each of the different bloodlines has a bloodborne sorcery that is unique to that bloodline. They do not mix, and it is just so interesting. Also between the noble families, everybody's trying to form alliances, and just this is huge scheming for the throne, and it's so good. It's so good. So over the course of this video, talking about my favorite reads of each month so far this year, I do believe it's going to be down to Empire of Silence and An Alchemy of Mask and Mirrors. This was actually a very helpful exercise for me. I came into this not knowing what books would go forward. I didn't think I'd be able to pick some, and here I've picked 2 to move forward to compete with books of the month for July through December. I'm excited to see if I will read something that will dethrone one of these books. And for those of you who've read some of these books, do you agree with my choices to go forward? Let me know in the comments down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.